Hey there, my name's Cam, and I'm a wooden box maker. So I recently went on this crazy adventure, and I'm going to tell the story today. But it's dangerous to go alone, so will you come with me?
One day, I was mowing my lawn, a boring task for a boring day, until I hit something. Upon further inspection, I found it to be a wooden box emblazoned with the Triforce, the icon of the Legend of Zelda, a series of games I've been playing since I was a child.
Now, I make wooden boxes for a living. It's my entire job, so naturally, I decided to bring this thing into here and use my instruments to examine it.
Only, I found something magical inside.
Oh my goodness.
I was startled at first, but then I did what anyone would do in my position. I popped the game in, shut off the lights, and proceeded to play The Legend of Zelda all night long.
Oh!
You could say it was a link to my past. Sorry. As I was headed to bed for the night, I noticed my piano out of the corner of my eye and thought, there are few things more Zelda than music.
The next morning, hoping to find more answers, I headed back to my woodshop, only to find nothing.
I was gutted. The games of my childhood were gone, vanished. I was devastated. But there, in my twilight, I had a thought.
Sure, the box had vanished, but I make boxes, and I could make another box. And if that box couldn't get me to the first box, maybe it could get me back to Hyrule itself. I started off with the oldest woods in my possession, some old growth chestnut and cherry. Fitting, if you ask me. The Zelda series loves to tell stories that are as old as time itself. I chose the chestnut to make the frame of the box. After roughing it out on the bandsaw, I put all the boards through my planer to make sure they were all the exact same thickness. Just in case you didn't know, the American chestnut is a tree that has gone all but extinct in the United States. But because it was once flourishing here, many things have been built with it. And this otherwise dead wood will live on as this box. So the chestnut that I used for the frame is quite straight grained, but the cherry that I chose is wild and flamey. I love doing this in my boxes. To me, it feels like the frame is presenting the panel as some sort of painting or picture. And when you put an image like that into your work, it just injects a little bit of magic into it. After the glue had finished drying, I cut all of the parts to the box. Everything was ready to glue up, until I remembered that there was a symbol on the first one, the Triforce. So I decided to add my own symbol to this one, the Master Sword, the blade of evil's bane, Link, the hero of the Zelda series, his weapon of choice. I carved up the hilt using some blue maho, beautiful tropical wood that grows naturally blue out of the tree. And then, of course, I needed to add the Triforce too, so I used some air-dried golden elm that I had lying around. After fabricating all the parts of this inlay, I started carving it onto the face of the lid.
At this point, you're probably thinking, Cam, this is ridiculous, okay? You could go on the internet and buy another Nintendo for half the price, and it would get here in a quarter of the time. Well, yeah, but I'm a woodworker. Come on. Nothing we do is either fast or cheap. Huh.
The shape of the hilt was absolutely the hardest part to carve onto the lid. I just took my time and came up to my lines with the smallest router bit that I own. Hands down, this is the most intricate inlay that I have ever done as a woodworker. Partially because of the design, but Also because I chose to leave all of it a little bit above the surface and give it a softened edge. Once the inlay was done, it was time to take all the parts of the box and glue them together. It's honestly still hard for me to believe that the goop that comes out of glue bottles can bind together something as strong and natural as wood. A pinnacle of the Legend of Zelda series is using weapons and items to solve combat and puzzle situations. In woodworking, it's very similar. I love these strap clamps. They are better than anything else that I have found to hold my boxes together while the glue dries. So next, I cut some splines into the corners of the box. This is a really great way to reinforce the strength of the box, and it also looks super stylish. After the cuts and making the splines, I glued them all into place. After this point in the box, the rest of it is honestly like the smooth sailing of the Great Sea, so I'm just going to let the peaceful sounds of my hand tools tell the rest of the story of the build.
And so my box was finished. All I needed to do was to bring it back out here into my shop and open it up to see if I could create a link between worlds and find the other box.
It wasn't the same thing I had found in the first box, but it sure was another trip to Hyrule.
Ha!
That night, I figured I'd play another Zelda song, but this time with intention. I played the Song of Healing. The next morning, what I found in here was more magical than anything else so far.
Yes.